Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our webinar for tonight. Tonight we're talking about the basics of bookkeeping. It's a Saturday evening, and I'm glad you guys are here with me for another webinar in our fast forward to the year 2021 series. Thank you for joining us. If you're with us, if you saw the comments earlier, yung prompt earlier, have you tried tracking your expenses before? Tonight we're talking about bookkeeping, so I want to ask you if you've tried tracking your expenses. Have you experienced that before? Let's see. Maya, yes, daw. Leslie, good evening. Carmela, Marcel, John from Bulacan, Jane from Quezon City, Jolene hasn't tried tracking expenses, and good evening, Shirley, Chirito, Myla, Maya, Ponciano, Mateo, Doris, Ever, Enel, Mahar, Esperanza, Grace, Hannah, hello, good evening, Sylvia, Ian, Tin, Yvonne, Raimundo, Eted, Frelin, Jeffrel, Giselle, Tessa, Anna, Cherry, Jovelyn, Casey, Isabella, Nene, Marielle, Jenny, Jerry. Ang dami natin mga viewers ngayon. We have over 250 viewers, mag 300 ata tayo. Ivan, tried tracking expenses para sa mga bayanitis, kuryente, tubig at pagkain. Alright. Akala ko nag-freeze yung timer. Yung timer nag-stop. A lot of people have tried tracking. Parang most people have tried tracking their expenses. Oh yes, every month, July, sabi din. Oh, ako din, I've tried tracking my expenses. And this is what bookkeeping kind of is about. It's tracking yung mga transactions, tracking the expenses. So yes, hello, good evening. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. And if we're doing this for free as part of our advocacy, just letting you guys know. And I want to encourage you to share this webinar on your Facebook wall. And we were spreading the word and helping other Filipinos lives improve through freelancing education. So you can share this webinar on your wall so that they can also hear about this and basics of bookkeeping and freelancing online. Now, today is actually our second to the last webinar for this Fast Forward 2021 series. Ang bilis, no? It's the 7th. Next week it's the last one. It's going to be the 8th one. Today we're talking about basics of bookkeeping, right? Next week we're going to close out with talking about marketing your freelance skills. Okay, so that's gonna be our last webinar. I hope you guys have attended. Have you guys seen bang complete attendance? Has attended all 7 in the past and has all the certificates na? Let me know in the comment section if you have, or how many certificates do you have na? How many attendance? How many certificates do you have? Now you've been attending these webinars, and in this last one, next week, pag-usapan natin marketing your freelance skills. So here is where we apply yung mga skills na natutunan nyo and actually try to find clients, diba? So not just learning, diba? But we apply these skills and you want to find clients. So that's why next week we're talking about marketing your freelance skills. Also, if you have attended if you missed our previous webinars, ito 3 daw ni John, 4 Grace, Michi 3, Giselle 1 lang. If you've missed our previous webinars from the Fast Forward 2021 series, you can binge watch. May parang Netflix, may binge watching tayo. We have them all organized in one page, so you can find all yung mga value bombs natin in just one click. So just go over to this website, vabootcamp.ph/ff2021vid. You can bookmark that link, watch all of the previous webinars, including this one. We're also going to put that there on this page, the basics of bookkeeping. You can view them all in one page, in case you missed them. Of course, you can't get your certificate kasi yung mga certificates may mga deadlines. So you won't be able to get those certificates, but you'll be able to get today's certificates. Okay, you can view these past ones and still watch them. They won't be up forever. Okay, well, we're gonna take them down in December. It'll only be for the students starting December. Pero right now you can still watch them, and this webinar will also be a part of that. And at the end of this webinar, I want you guys to stay. We have a special gift. We have a special announcement for everyone, not just mga winners, not just mga certificate holders, pero for everyone, you're going to receive a gift. Okay, from the VA Bootcamp team, you're going to receive a gift, and very excited about it. So stay until the end until we talk about that gift. And even after we talk about bookkeeping, we have a surprise. Gusto niyo ba ng surprise? Do you guys enjoy surprises? Comment yes. Yes, you want your surprise. Let me know if you want a surprise or not. Baka ayaw niyo ng surprise. So, wag na lang. Din na tayo mag-launch ng surprise. So, let me say yes, I want a surprise. Kahit sa mga first-timers, yeah, I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here to join us. Thanks in advance a gift. Oh, gusto niyo mga surprise. All right. We also have our certificate of completion. If you stay until the end of this webinar, I'll give you the instructions so you can get a certificate of completion, and you can add this. You can show this to prospective clients so that they'll hire you. And you can show them that, yeah, I know how to do bookkeeping. I've attended the basics of bookkeeping workshop launched by the VA Bootcamp. So, okay, let's dive right into tonight's session. Daming gusto ng surprise. Mileta, Mateo, Delia, Imelda, Hannah, Anna, Jenny, Lizelle, Rove, Joanne, Jennifer, Rose. Oh, daming gusto ng surprise. Christelle, Jean. All right. So let's dive right into tonight's session. So our coverage for today, here's what we're talking about tonight. First of all, what is bookkeeping? In basics, pinaka-basic, what is bookkeeping? Then we're going to compare bookkeeping and accounting. All right. And then, do you guys know the difference between bookkeeping and accounting? Baka some of you already know the difference. Some of you might not know the difference, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about different reports in bookkeeping. We're going to talk about the balance sheet, an income statement, a cash flow statement, how double entry accounting is, T accounts, and the transaction workflows based on what's actually in the QuickBooks software. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Sino bang may mga bookkeepers ba dito? May mga existing bookkeepers over here. Let me know if you're a bookkeeper and you're attending this. Maybe you just want to learn how it is online, or baka may experience kayo sa bookkeeping. Let me know. Ano namang experience sa bookkeeping? Does anyone have experience or is a current bookkeeper? Or baka may accountant pa sa inyo, di ba? So yes, baka may bookkeepers tayo. Let me know. Now, before we dive into what bookkeeping really is, naputol pala to. You might be wondering, how much do bookkeeper jobs pay per hour? Okay, how much do bookkeeping jobs pay per hour? Now, this is based on info from the US. Okay, pero for part-time, contract, or freelance bookkeepers, pay is done on an hourly basis usually, and it's based on an pre-approved or agreed upon rate. Now, based on mga research, mga surveys on ZipRecruiter, yung average hourly rate for a bookkeeper is mga $19 per hour. Okay, that's the average rate. So that's what you can see here. Yung dark green, that's around $19 per hour. But experienced bookkeepers, they can earn $35 per hour, $40 per hour. Yung mga bookkeepers that are experts na, may mga accounting skills, they earn as much as $75 an hour. Okay, so that's a lot of money, right? And this is bookkeepers in the United States. Tayo, if we're offering bookkeeping as a service, yeah, we won't really be charging $19 an hour average. Pero even if we charge mga half that amount, even if we charge $10 per hour, that's 500 pesos per hour, right? And usually what we see with bookkeepers, they charge up $10, $15 per hour as the hourly rate. So mga 500 to 750 pesos per hour is what they earn for every hour of work that they do. Okay, so yung pay, it's pretty good naman sa bookkeeping accounting. Ito, soon to be bookkeeping, experienced but not graduate, former accounting staff clerk. Jennifer, accounting grad, 16 years as accounting staff. So yun, may mga experience. Itong other people already have experience, and you can just translate it into working online. For example, may mga job posts ito. National average, $19 an hour. Itong on the left side of the scale, $10. On the right side of the scale, we have $28.61. But you see, the national average in the US is $19. And most of the clients that we have, most of the clients that we're targeting are in the United States. So itong $19 per hour, and like I said, you can charge $10, $15 per hour and provide as a good bookkeeper. If may experience kayo, or if may knowledge kayo, if may skills kayo, it's very easy for you to charge $10, $15 an hour as a bookkeeper. Now, there are different job posts. Ang dami mga job posts online when it comes to bookkeeping. Here are some examples. Here are some opportunities that will be available for you if you have been trained in bookkeeping. So of course, we attend this, ito basics lang naman pag-usapan natin ngayon. Pero of course, if you study more and you get practice, you can apply for these kinds of jobs. Office assistant slash bookkeeping QuickBooks knowledge, project based with monthly tasks. So this is a bookkeeping job. Set up QuickBooks, light filing, data entry, get caught up on backlog of work from 2020. So yung mga transactions niya, let's say from January to November, he needs help with them. Day-to-day QuickBooks help, book account, bank account, credit card reconciliation, training on QuickBooks, must be dependable, proficient in basic Microsoft software, small business owner, must be willing to work from my home office in East Out. It is a local job. Some of the time can do remotely. Good someone's looking for a side hustle and so on. Now, who here knows how to use QuickBooks? Does anyone know how to use QuickBooks here? Because I'm asking because maybe you can apply for these kinds of jobs already if you have experience in QuickBooks, because a lot of the time that's what they're looking for. QuickBooks is the most popular. May ibang software, may Xero, may Peachtree, and so on, but QuickBooks is the most popular. So if you know how to use QuickBooks, if you experience using QuickBooks, you have an advantage now. Okay. And we're going to deal with QuickBooks a little bit later tonight. Okay. Here's another job post. QBO, QuickBooks Online Bookkeeping Work for Accounting Firm. We are an accounting firm seeking a freelancer to assist with ongoing bookkeeping needs for our monthly clients. Currently, we have a need of 20 hours per month. The freelancer would be working exclusively in QuickBooks Online and be responsible for coding transactions, reconciling, and saving down financials for each small business or nonprofit. Here are the qualities we look for in the position: honest and trustworthy, QBO software expert, so knows how to use bank rules, code transactions, journal entries, work efficiently in QBO, strong bookkeeping / admin background. Okay, yung mga bank reconciliations, those are actually very important. Mga reports din. Attention to detail, able to multitask and project manage. And this guy, yung budget niya per hour is $15 to $25 per hour. Right? So this is work that if you know how to use QuickBooks, diba? If you're an expert in QuickBooks, you know how to use journal entries, bank recons, bank rules, then these are the kind of jobs that you can apply for. Certified pa lang. If you're a certified pro advisor in QuickBooks Online and you can take the test, it's free lang naman. Diba? That's already a big plus when you're applying for mga bookkeeper jobs online. So that's something you can definitely do. May replay naman. Don't worry. Alright, so let's dive into bookkeeping. I just wanted to show you yung mga jobs available, yung average rate, so that you have an idea na malaki talaga yung opportunity dito. And every business, every online store, every business, they need a bookkeeper. They need, especially in the US na kailangan mag-report. You have to report your taxes. Unlike dito yung, alam naman natin, yung mga Lazada and Shopee sellers, a lot of them, they don't report taxes, diba? So they don't do bookkeeping. Pero in the US, they're very strict. May mga tracking sila so that they can trace and find kahit yung mga small sellers sa Amazon, sa eBay, and so on. They need bookkeepers to track their expenses, to track their income, and be able to report properly to the IRS. So there is a demand talaga. The more businesses there are, the more bookkeepers are needed. And you can even be a virtual assistant na focus on bookkeeping. I know there's some of you VAs out there. You can add this to your skills so that you can not only help your client with mga admin, mga research, but even some bookkeeping kind of jobs as well. Okay, so let's take a look at bookkeeping. So ano ba talaga yung bookkeeping? So what is bookkeeping? So it's the process of recording all financial transactions made by a business. Okay, all the financial transactions. So bookkeepers are responsible for recording, classifying, and organizing every transaction that's made through the course of business operation. So every single business. Okay. Now, there are mga transactions that don't deal with money. Pero most of the time, to make it simpler, we're going to focus on transactions that what we mean by transactions most of the time is money coming in and money coming out. Even if it's credit card or check or future payable, money coming in, money coming out. So this is the most basic. Pero may mga more advanced transactions, like there's depreciation, there's amortization, which don't involve money, pero that can still be assigned a value. diba? So they can still be assigned a value even though directly there's no money going in, money going out. They can still be assigned a monetary value. May value pa rin yung everything that's going on in the business, and that's tracked in bookkeeping. Every single thing that goes on, it's tracked in bookkeeping. Money coming in, which is money owed to us. Okay, money becomes money we have our own as a business, and then money owed to others or money coming out. Okay, so this is what's right pa din ako. Recording of transactions. Oh, recording of transactions. Yung pinaka-basics when it comes to bookkeeping. That's what it is. Proper bookkeeping helps our client answer some of these questions. Okay, so how much money am I really making? Okay. Because when you have a small business, cash flow is very important. Money in, money out, diba? When you have even if you're not gonna practice bookkeeping, but you're parang looking at your own business as a freelancer or baka may mga business kayo, this is also an important topic for you. This will be interesting for you. So, with bookkeeping, the client or the business owner can answer the questions, how much money am I really making? Which is hard to answer because ang daming mga expenses, diba? If we're not tracking, okay, money comes in, money comes out, but if we're not tracking, we don't know how much money we have. Diba? We just see money coming in, money coming out. So, it helps them answer this question. How much money am I really making? How much should I pay? How much can I afford to pay sa mga expenses? Baka a lot of the times, business owners, they spend too much money because they don't track. They think, okay, konti lang to, I'll spend on this advertising, I'll buy this new equipment, pero they're putting out too much money na pala. And do I have enough to invest? Okay, so it helps them answer these kinds of questions. All right, full-time mga experience, assets, liabilities, capital, or equity. Okay, so what do bookkeepers really do? So generally, a bookkeeper, if you're interested in becoming a bookkeeper, you should kind of know what these are. A bookkeeper, what they generally do is they receive scanned receipts. Okay, so if you're working with a client na, of course, is another country like the US, the UK, Europe, they're gonna send you scanned receipts. They take pictures of it, or may scanner sila. They're gonna send you copies of the receipts. And then what you can also do is you can download transactions from banks, from QuickBooks, and you can download may automatic recording kasi sa banks. Like, di ba, we have our BDO, our BPI transactions online, makikita natin, ma-download. We can even download those. Same thing here. You can download the transactions from the banks in the US, and then you can record these transactions in the software. So you go through the receipts the client sends you, you download the transactions from their bank accounts, and you record it in the software. So incoming and outgoing transactions, you post them to various accounts. So various accounts meaning the different bank accounts, the cash account, cash on hand, ganun. And then you track and categorize transactions also. So when you see a receipt, you categorize. You categorize what kind of transaction is it? Is he purchasing supplies? Is this a salary transaction? Is this for ads? Is this for marketing? Is this for equipment? So you're gonna get all these transactions from receipts, from mga bank statements, from mga CSVs from the banks. You're gonna look at all of them, record them, and for every single transaction, you categorize them. Okay, so you categorize, okay, this is for buying a piece of equipment, this is for supplies, mga ganun. Then what you'd also might do, not all the time, pero you might also process payments. Okay, you can process payments online. Example, may mga accounts payable, meaning may mga utang si client na kailangan bayaran, na they bought something, tapos 30 days pa yung due date. You can process payments, you can transfer online a lot of the times. You can also conduct daily banking activities, like ito, mga writing checks, mga doing fund transfers. This is more if your client trusts you na, or baka if they don't give you access to it, you can tell them, okay, you can just send reminders to the client that they have to process these payments, they have to do these activities. And lastly, you'd also be producing various reports, profit and loss, balance sheet, cash flow statement. And these are important tasks talaga that bookkeepers do. These help the clients make decisions in the business, and a lot of the times itong like looking at the receipts, looking at the transactions, categorizing transactions, napaka-hassle nito for a business owner. But that's what the bookkeeper is there for. But the business owner can focus on other things. And then the bookkeeper, what they're going to do is they're going to be the ones in charge. So at the end of the month, you can tell your client, or you can tell the business owner na you've spent $5,000 on supplies this month, or on raw materials, on mga let's see, mga anong pwede dito? Ang mga electronics, mga circuit boards, ganun. So you can give a report to the client na, and it'll really give them an idea. Okay, how much money do they really have, and so on. Okay. Any questions so far? If there's any questions, let me know. Len DZ is a experienced bookkeeper, overall QuickBooks software, accounting records. Unlike before, recordings manual, or before you have to write it in a piece of paper. In QuickBooks, automatic na. In total, automatic na yung total. So, it'll automatically compute how much was spent in total for advertising, how much was spent in total for supplies, mga ganun. So, like mga softwares, they're really good for that. Okay. Doesn't look like we have any questions. So, bookkeeping and accounting. May difference in bookkeeping from accounting. Who knows the difference between bookkeeping and accounting? Does anyone know the difference between these two? Between bookkeeping and accounting? Let me know. What is the difference between bookkeeping and accounting? Okay, let's look at some descriptions here. So bookkeeping, it's the record keeping process of tracking your finances. Accounting is when you process and compile accounts info and analyzing data. Okay, so you're analyzing the data. Bookkeeping, you're tracking. Accounting is more analysis. Okay, bookkeeping, you maintain and balance accounts. Accounting, you analyze the overall health of finances by reviewing records. So, may analysis. Ito, si Anne, alam ni Anne Escalona. Oh, it's more analysis once you go into accounting. Bookkeeping, you're keeping track. And you know what's going on. Per accounting, you take a look at trends and mga predictions. Bookkeepers record your business and daily transactions and generate data. They record data the same way every time. Accountants verify recorded data about financial activities. They turn data into statements. They give you a bigger picture. So not just what's there, diba? Pero yung mga trends and what's mga predictions. In bookkeeping, it's very important to keep accurate records. Accounting, what you do is you make mga forecasts based on records. So for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years, what might happen? That's accounting. Bookkeeping, this is what happened in the past, diba? Accounting, parang future, looking into the future. Bookkeeping, categorize documents for income tax return. Accounting prepares annual personal and business income tax return. So, one other thing is when it comes to tax returns, bookkeepers, they usually categorize, they make sure everything's recorded. Yung accountants are the ones that prepare yung mga, like ITR. Diba ITR natin? That's the accountant's job, to prepare the returns. The bookkeeper makes sure the records are correct. Bookkeepers, they post debits and credits. Accountants, they make adjusting entries and perform audits. So audits meaning they double check, they verify. They don't just, yung bookkeeper, they record. The accountant will verify and say, okay, we'll double check and make sure that everything's correct. Bookkeeping is the foundation of your finances. You call bookkeepers when you need help with your books. Accounting, it's higher level processing. When you need to make sense, okay? When you need to parang interpret and to make analysis, to make predictions, that's when you call an accountant. So most of the time, for smaller businesses actually, they just deal with a bookkeeper. They don't need accountants. Especially kung maliit pa yung business, they just deal with a bookkeeper. And then they deal with accountant once a year lang to prepare yung mga pang ITR, yung income tax returns. But aside from that, the accountant doesn't deal with the smaller businesses. Smaller businesses, because accountants are also expensive. So bookkeepers, they keep bookkeepers. Accountants only come in during special cases. When they need forecasts, when they need analysis, that's when accountants come in. Of course, for bigger companies who make mga forecasts and analysis all the time, accountants are important, right? But for smaller business, and most of my clients natin online are mga smaller businesses. Okay? Accounting starts when bookkeeping works end. That's a good description. Bookkeeper, they all prepare everything, tapos na yung recording. Then that's when the accountant's work begins, na they audit, they double check, they analyze, they make predictions. Ayan. Sige. May mga experience tayo na bookkeepers dito and accountants. Okay. So mga reports. Okay, now that we have the definition and the differentiation between bookkeeping and accounting, let's take a look at the different reports that are important to bookkeeping. So, if you're going to be doing bookkeeping for your client, you'll be dealing with a balance sheet. Okay, this is one of the most basic reports. in bookkeeping. So the balance sheet is based on the fundamental equation. Okay? So may idea, may basis yung balance sheet that assets equals liabilities plus equity. Okay? So assets equals liabilities plus equity. And I'm going to define what these are. I know these terms might be a bit foreign to you, pero I'll discuss what each of these are in the following slides. Okay, but for now, you just remember assets. Or I'll give a quick definition. Assets, so what you own, okay, equals liabilities, meaning yung mga utang nyo, plus equity, meaning your worth, your actual worth. So, let's say, okay, let me give you a quick example of a balance sheet. Okay. So itong asset, 'di ba, cellphone, 'di ba? Let's say yung value nitong cellphone is 30,000 pesos. Okay? This is a 30,000 peso cellphone. So ito yung asset ko na 30,000 pesos. Pero for me to buy it, I had to take out a loan. Okay? Let's say my loan is 15,000 pesos. Okay? And then yung actual ownership ko, 'di ba? So yung actual worth sa akin ito is actually 15,000 din. Because yung value nito is 30,000, pero may utang pa ako ng 50,000. So that's what assets. The assets is 30,000. The liability is 15,000. Okay? May utang na 15,000. And yung worth, yung value na naiwan, that's the equity, which is also 15,000. Okay? I hope that kind of clarifies it a little bit over here. Yes, the balance sheet is a statement of financial position. Okay? That's the statement of financial position. How in what position a business is with regards to finances. So here's an example of a balance sheet right now. So we have mga numbers. We won't go over all of these, pero on the left we have total assets. On the right side we have liabilities and equity. So on the left we can see cash, we can see accounts receivable, inventory, prepaid expense, investments, land, buildings, equipment. Ignore these depreciation amortization. Well, that's more advanced, pero that's part of accounting also, bookkeeping. You have total assets here. Liabilities, accounts payable, notes payable, mga utang, accrued expenses, deferred revenue. So, basic yung mga utang, 247,000. And then, whatever is left, yung value is the equity. So, common stock, paid in capital, retained earnings, treasury stock. So, this is an example of a balance sheet over here. Alright. I thank you then. Yung 30,000 equals 15,000. Yung 30,000, yung asset, yung amount of asset equals 15,000, which is the utang plus the value, the how much I actually have in the value, which is 15,000, because hindi siya 30,000. Even though I have the cell phone na 30,000, yung actual remaining value is minus yung utang na 15,000, the liability of 15,000. Sige, that's a very basic example, and I know there's some mistakes with that, pero that's like a basic way of understanding. Okay, I hope that clarified that for some people. Is that example clear ba? Let me know in the comment section. If it's clear, type in clear. If it's not clear, just say not clear. Paano kapag walang natira, so walang equity? Oh, walang equity. Puro utang. Scenario, kung walang equity, puro utang na lang. Everything you own is utang, di ba? So, walang value. That means na everything the business owns is utang. Nakakatakot naman ng business na yan because it's very scary if they don't have equity. Puro utang lahat ng assets nila. So yeah, okay, good to hear it's clear. That's why balance. Pero basic, kaloka yung mahaba. Oo. As na it should be balanced. Kung hindi, assets and liabilities. Assets, di ba? So, yun, di ba? You have yung utang, which is liabilities, and you have yung actual value, yung actual worth sa'yo. That's yung naiwan, di ba? So, if you have everything you own, minus yung lahat ng utang mo, anong natira? Yun ang equity. That's how much value you have. Yeah. So, yung assets and liabilities should not be equal, okay? If assets equals liabilities, nakakatakot yan kasi lahat ng assets of a business, utang. Okay, that's very scary. And assets can also equal to equity if walang utang yung business. Pero usually may utang yung business. It's always part of business. Okay, good to hear. Good to hear na clear. Dito ako nung college pa ako. Okay, good to hear that it's clear. assets minus liabilities equals equity, not assets plus liabilities. Assets minus, kasi what you own versus what you owe is yung value, yung worth. Yung balance. Sakit sa ulo yung balance. Okay, what's the balance sheet? It displays the company's total assets, how assets are financed, either through debt or equity. They either utang or through the actual value or actual worth. It can be referred to as a statement of net worth or statement of financial position. Now, the balance sheet provides a snapshot of the company's financials as of a particular date. So you can see, okay, how much yung equity, how much yung value, how much money does a business have, is it like, diba, if how much utang a company has, if it's all utang, then the company is very much in trouble. But you can see it gives you that idea in a quick screen, in a quick snapshot. So it's really important. It's really important for a business because it you can see how liquid a business is. How liquid meaning how much money they have to spend, and also how efficient they are on when it comes to things like debt to equity ratio. Debt to equity ratio meaning how much utang does a company have versus how much value they have. Okay, those are things that companies want to keep in mind or be aware of at all times because they want to make sure that their business is healthy. Okay, so assets. Okay, let's look at definitions like of what assets, liabilities, and equity is. Oh, yung yellow paper na 12 column. So, okay, what are assets? Assets are anything valuable that your company owns: equipment, land, buildings, or intellectual property. Okay, they're things that a company owns. When you look at your assets, you're trying to answer a simple question: how much do I have? Okay, so if anything has a value and you have ownership over it, it's an asset. So itong cell phone, like earlier, diba, I have ownership over it, even though may utang pa ako nito, diba? Even though I financed it, even though may utang pa, I still technically own it, right? So it's an asset of 30,000 pesos. Okay, equipment, land, buildings, intellectual property, what other people owe you, you can count them as assets. Intellectual property, mga copyrights, and so on, those are all assets. Okay? Yung worksheet pala, yeah, yung 12-column worksheet. Assets include accounts receivable, so that's what people owe you, accounts receivable. Cash, inventory, so these are mga stocks that you are going to sell. You have ownership over them, and they will possibly bring you future value. Okay, that's one thing that's also under the definition of an asset. It can bring you possible financial value in the future. Okay, property, plant, and equipment. So all of these things are needed to operate in the business, and they'll bring financial value in the future. Okay, so there are of course other things, intangibles, and so on. Pero basically, if we think about it, these are what the main categories of assets. Maybe someone wants to add mga ibang main categories of assets, but yung cash, accounts receivable, inventory, property, plant, and equipment. Okay? Asset is any possession that has value in exchange. Yes, that's right. It has to have financial value. Any resources owned by the business. So all of these things over here. So again, I remember taking business admin after high school, tapos after one sem, ayaw ko na kasi puro usapang utang at pera na hindi na akin ng balancing. Ayan tayo na bayad. Good. Okay, so liabilities. Let's move on to liabilities. So liabilities are something that a person or company owes. So utang, di ba? Let me go through this a bit faster. Utang. Liabilities are settled through time. The transfer of economic benefits include money, goods, or services. It's important for a business. Businesses usually have mga utang to finance mga future, to finance growth, really. And they make transactions between businesses more efficient. So companies, they usually have cash, but they still get debts. They still incur liabilities as part of business. So liabilities, current liabilities, we have current liabilities and non-current liabilities. Current liabilities usually are accounts payable. Accounts receivable is money that is possibly coming in. Accounts payable is money na we owe other people. Current debt, notes payable, so these are different forms of utang, and current portion of long-term debt. Okay, so these are all forms of utang. I won't dive into detail here. Non-current liabilities are utang that are payable more than 1 year from now. Current, what we mean by current is in 1 year we have to pay it. Non-current, next year pa yan. So, okay, next year pa the payments are made. Okay, so we have bonds payable and we have long-term debt over here. Sige. I won't go over into too much detail there, pero we have yung liabilities which are utang. And those are all just different forms of mga utang that you can have. Okay, sige. Next, we were talking about equity. Shareholders equity. It can be shareholder or owner's equity. It's the amount that shows how the company has been financed with the help of common shares and preferred shares. That's the technical term. It can be called share capital statement equity, shareholders equity, or net worth. Okay, and on the balance sheet, it's assets minus liabilities equals equity. Okay, so assets minus liabilities equals equity, and usually this is the amount that, well, I'll put this here, next slide here. So it's the capital, the investment that the owners make into a business. That's part of equity. Okay, plus the retained earnings. So yung income over the past. So retained earnings means it's the income from the past couple of years that's kept by the owners na hindi pa paid out. So as the company grows, as the company gets income, that's added into what we call the retained earnings. So if they don't pay out, diba? Sometimes a company, when they have earnings, they're going to pay it out. Pero whatever is not paid out is called retained earnings, and that continues to increase the value of a business. Okay, so if we look at the balance sheet again, we have assets, what you own, equals liabilities, what you owe, plus equity, which is what is left over. Okay. So ikaw, if you are, to make it simpler, sabi ni Asin, ang hirap. Everything you own are your assets. Diba? And if you minus yung what you owe, lahat ng mga utang nyo, yung mga house loan, car loan, cellphone loan, mga ganun, what's remaining is yung equity mo, yung value. How much value you actually have. That is the equity, and that's what is left over. Okay. Ang maraming mga terms, that's why I just scrolled through the different terms, but basically this is what you have to keep in mind. Okay. Seeing if you have any questions. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. Sige, the second thing we're looking at, the second report, is called an income statement. So yung balance sheet, diba, we have what you own minus what you owe and what's remaining. And when we look at the income statement, and this is an example of an income statement, a revenue minus expenses, okay? And then we have different gains and losses, and we have net income at the bottom. Okay, so basically it's an income statement, profit and loss statement. It shows the income and expenses of a company for a certain period of time. Usually every year, okay, you make an income statement. Okay, so you have all the revenue, all the sales, the revenues, minus all expenses, and then you get net income. Simple lang. It's pretty simple, and we're talking about an income statement. Sige. Its purpose is to show the shareholders and mga investors the company made money or not during a certain period. Okay. And the difference between the income statement and balance sheet is time period. So balance sheet is everything. Okay, balance sheet, you bought it 10 years ago. Okay, it's there. You made money 10 years ago. That's part of your balance sheet. Income statement is in 1 year. How much did you make? Or in 3 months. How much did you make for that specific time period? Okay. So that's the income statement. The balance sheet, which I showed you earlier, is buo, everything. Okay, walang as a specific date, it's everything. Income statement is on a specific time period lang. Income minus expenses, yun lang naman yung ano. Okay, so revenue, otherwise known as income. Okay, so mga sales, it can include interest from bank accounts, mga earnings on investments, mga ganun. Pero most of the time, it's sales. Okay. Mga sales revenue from sales before mga additional deductions. I won't really go over this here. We're gonna run short in time. Pero sales revenue comes from your sales. Okay, that's what you have to remember here. Okay, income. So when we talk about income, these are different kinds. Not just yung sales revenue, pero you can also get income from yung interest on bank account, interest on loans, and other sources din, mga rent income. Okay, that can be income. Versus so sales is part of income. It's just one form of income. Okay? Income can have many different kinds of income. Okay? So gains are, okay, we won't talk about gains too much, but if you sell long-term assets and you have an increase in value, that's gains. Okay. Next, expenses. Expenses is the cost of operating a company. Okay, so in order to run a company, usually you have expenses. They say it costs money to make money. Okay, that's the popular saying. It's the cost experienced by a company, paid to suppliers. You pay your suppliers, you pay your vendors, and even if you use cash or you pay out in utang, it's still an expense. Okay, if you say, okay, may utang ako, utang na yan, diba? That's also an expense. So it doesn't necessarily mean that cash is exchanged. As long as the expense is incurred, meaning you already agreed upon it, then that's already an expense. Because sometimes in the business world, diba, you can get, like, say, peanuts from your supplier, pero payable next month pa. It's still an expense, even though you didn't pay money at that specific point in time. There are operational expenses, usually utilities, rent, mortgages. There's advertising expenses. There are professional fees, so mga lawyers, mga accountants, consultants, they fall under professional fees. Employee benefits, of course, including employee wages. And mga supplies. Supplies are usually consumables, like pencils, ball pens, staplers, paper. Those are considered supplies. They're not considered, you usually don't count them as assets kasi ang liit nila, and they're very consumable. Meaning in one day, in 1 week, or let's say, hindi naman 1 week, 1 month, they get consumed. So those are considered expenses. They're not considered assets. Assets are things that are longer term. Ito expenses are usually shorter term, like these things over here. So yeah. Let me look at the sumasakit yung ulo. Pero gusto ko pag-aralan. Minsan po sinasabi nila parang mga representation expenses. So, you're talking about mga professional fees. Can I have peanuts? Sige, punta ka dito. Nakahanda ko yan pag-usapan whole day may mga whole day seminar ng ganito sa mga business owners, nakakantok. Magkaroon naman ng detailed webinar nito. We have a course, Mariel, actually. We have a whole course about this. If you want to enroll in it, pwede. Sige. Why are income statements important? It indicates profitability because no matter how much money, diba, in the balance sheet, we see how much money you have, how much value you have. Pero in an income statement, you can see the trend. Okay, you can see if the business is profitable this year, right? Or for a certain amount of time. And timely updates and operations, classifications of revenues and expenses. Okay, you can see how much is being spent on marketing, how much is being spent on supplies, and so on. And those are all important things for a business. Income statement, for the short term, income statements are very important compared to balance sheets, which are longer term. Because when you're talking about smaller businesses, they care more about the income statements. Because it shows how profitable a business is. So even if you have a lot of money, pero lugi yung business mo, diba? So even if okay yung mga assets mo, pero if you look at the income statement, the expenses are more than the income, then that's going in a bad direction. Okay, so that's the profitability of a business, which is also really important. Need po peanuts for my brain cells to work. Complicated ba? Are you guys confused? Confusing ba yung discussion natin ngayon? Hindi naman journalizing yung practice natin. That's a bit too much if we go journal entries. Because we won't deal with journal entries. That's confusing. So yeah. Next we have the cash flow statement. So let me ask you this question before we dive into the cash flow statement. What is the top reason small businesses fail within the first 5 years of the business? What's the number one reason that businesses fail? So what do you think? Let me know your comments below. What do you think is the number one reason that actually there's a study that 80% of small businesses fail within the first 5 years? Bakit kaya? Kain mo na ako. Ayan na si cash flow. Do you know? Or guess nyo lang. They don't measure their income and expenses. They don't monitor the cash flows. Ayun. They don't monitor properly, right? And because they don't monitor properly, they're not able to manage their cash flow properly. Okay. Poor cash flow management or poor understanding of cash flow contributes to the failure of a small business. So, mga banks in the US, they found out that 82% of small businesses, the reason they fail is because they don't track properly and they don't monitor their cash flows. So, it's really important for you to monitor your cash flows and to keep cash. Diba? Cash is important. Okay naman, may accounts payable, meaning people are gonna pay you money. May utang yung mga tao sa'yo. But if you don't have cash, diba, you can't survive as a business. So that's when the cash flow statement comes in. It summarizes the cash coming in and the cash coming out. Yung cash flow statement, which is CFS, measures how well a company manages its cash position, meaning how well the company generates cash to pay its debt obligations and fund its operating expenses. Cash is really important. Diba? If you have so much value, so much equipment, pero wala kang cash, you're going to be in trouble. So, cash flow statement is another thing that businesses really look at. So, an example over here, cash flow from operations. So, we have additions to cash, subtractions from cash. Don't mind the term so much, pero what you have to remember is just cash in, cash out. That's it. Okay. Where's the money? Okay, what money came in, what money came out, and how much money is remaining. That's all a cash flow statement is. Okay, we have these terms here, pero I know a lot of you don't like seeing this sheet here, pero that's it, cash. How much cash in, how much cash out, how much cash remaining. So in the business, diba, there's money coming in, cash coming from customers who are buying your products or services, and other sources then, money coming out, going out in the form of payments for expenses, and so on. That's all the cash flow is. And companies, businesses, a lot of them, they don't track their cash flow. Some companies, what they do is they make a lot of sales, diba? They make a lot of sales, pero utang pala. Like mga sari-sari store, utang pala, may listahan ng utang. Ang daming sales, pero utang pala lahat. And then maybe they'll pay you 3 months from now, diba? But you need the cash right now. You need to make operate the business. You need to make expenses. You need to pay rent. You need to pay mortgages, diba? So, yung managing the cash flow, it's really important for small business. It's a skill that's important for small businesses. So, if for businesses that want to better manage their cash flow and avoid mga emergencies where they have to take loans or they need to look for funding, they have to control their inventory, meaning they shouldn't have too much inventory. They don't buy everything like, okay, I'm gonna make t-shirts, I'm gonna buy 1 million t-shirts. Yes, you have assets, pero where's your cash? It's all in the t-shirts and you're gonna have a problem na. So control inventory. You monitor inventory, you monitor how much stocks. Not too many and not too little din, diba? So it's a balancing act when it comes to inventory, yung mga stocks nyo. Collecting receivables. Ito, yung mga utang. Collection of mga utang, that's sometimes it's really hard for a business to do, but it's also really important. And unprofitable relationships. So there are times na a business, like let's say sari-sari store, diba? Always nangutang. So you have to end that relationship. Say, bawal na yung utang, diba? We see that in sari-sari store. Bawal utang because they want to end their unprofitable relationships na puro utang and it's not getting paid. Or it takes so long to pay na the business had trouble operating because the cash flow wasn't there. Okay. So, that's the cash flow statement. Inflow and outflow. Yun lang. Dapat may CCTV para makita yung cash flow. Ibang problema yun. O yung iba po, malaki ang accounts receivables at kakonti ang collection. Oo. And that's a big problem. And they have to end those relationships with people who take so long to pay, or yung iba, they don't even pay. Yung iba, they pay pero 6 months late, diba? And you need the cash right now. Just the same when we do personal budget, we record our expenses and cash inflow and do forecast to where our finances stand. Oh, just like personal. Stagger yung money, hindi ko makita. Yung ibang expenses, bad debts lang, i-write off na lang. Yung ibang receivables. Sige. Okay. Let's talk briefly about double entry accounting. Yeah, I know all the accountants out there that this is usually the first thing you talk about when it comes to accounting, and this is kind of masakit sa ulo. So we'll just browse over this. If you're already interested in bookkeeping, if you watch this webinar and say, okay, I want to go into bookkeeping, you can take our free course on bookkeeping, by the way. vabootcamp.com/free bookkeeping course if you want to learn more about bookkeeping. Because this double entry accounting, I'm going to try to discuss it in like 5 minutes, but it might be a bit technical and a bit fast. Sige, just giving you a warning beforehand. Jemima, you don't track your cash flow. You should, as much as possible. Track your cash flow. Just list it. Yeah, cash today, and then over a certain period, cash coming in, cash coming out. That's it. It's very simple. So yeah, double entry accounting. So double entry accounting, it's the system that accountants use. It's the system that bookkeepers use when they record transactions. Okay. So how it works is ito yung debit and credit. We hear this a lot of time in bookkeeping, debit and credit. Whenever a transaction happens, there's always a debit and there's always a credit. So, and that has to always be equal when recording transactions. Meeting these requirements will result in the accounting or bookkeeping equation being in balance at all times. Okay, so it's always equal. Whenever you debit, you also credit. Okay, whenever you debit, you also credit. Now, when this is the whole system of bookkeeping. Okay, this is the complex system of bookkeeping. Itong double entry bookkeeping, and this is where we categorize. Okay, so when you think of debit and credit, usually when you think of debit, you think of it good, credit bad. But when we talk about double entry accounting, don't think of it na debit's good and credit is bad. Debit is increasing the left side, okay? And then credit is increasing the right side. Yun lang, okay? There's left and right. There's debit and credit. Okay? I'm going to show you the different kinds of accounts that we have. So we have different categories of accounts. We have the balance sheet accounts, which is asset, liability, and equity. And we have the income statement accounts, which is revenue and expenses. Okay, so these are the 5 different kinds of accounts. Okay, can somebody give the link to the free course? vabootcamp.ph/free bookkeeping course. Thank you, Mahar. So these are the different kinds of accounts when it comes to accounting. Okay, now by default, may mga default settings kasi yung mga accounts. Assets by default, they are debits. Okay, assets by default debits. Liabilities and equity are by default credits. Remember, debits are always equal to credits. So if you're looking at balance sheets, diba, assets equals liabilities plus equity. So diba, assets are always debits, liabilities and equities are credits by default. Okay, yun ang default setting nila. Okay. On the other hand, in the income statement accounts, revenue or income by default is credit. Okay, by default is credit. Expenses by default, they're debits. Okay, so that's something you have to keep in mind. So if you're going to increase an asset, the accounts na. If you're going to increase an asset, you debit an asset because yung default setting niya is debit. Okay, you just have to remember the default setting. Yun lang. Okay. Yung liabilities, if you're going to increase a liability or equity, you credit. So you use the right side. There's left side and right side. That's all you have to remember. If you're going to decrease an asset, you use the opposite side. Okay? So parang scale lang, diba? So asset, increase it. If you're going to decrease it, you use the right side. You credit it. Okay? Same thing for the others. Each account type has a default setting, which whether it's debit or credit. So debit left, credit right. And may default setting sila. If you're going to increase it, you go with the default setting. You debit assets, you debit expenses, you credit revenue, you credit liabilities, you credit equity. If you're going to decrease a certain account, then you go against the default setting nila. Okay. So I won't really dive into too much detail, but what you have to remember here is that ito may default setting, which you will increase it whether you're going to go debit it or you're going to credit it, whether you're going to tip the scale towards the left or the right. Okay, that's what you have to remember with debit and credit. Ayan. But yeah, this we can talk the whole day about double entry accounting. Sige. So one example here to illustrate double entry. If a company collects 500 from a customer who had previously purchased goods on credit, okay? So assets, for the assets, diba, they collected $500. Sige. So a company they collected from an utang who had previously purchased goods on credit. The company will make a debit entry, so meaning they're going to increase their cash. This should be better in a journal entry, pero sige. The company will increase their cash by 500. And cash is a asset, liability, equity, income, or expense. Which one is it? Kung cash, anong category ng cash? Is it asset? Is it liability, equity, income, or expense? Ayan. Yung normal balances, yung default setting, what I mentioned earlier. Oh, yung cash is an asset, di ba? So if you're going to increase an asset, you debit an asset. Okay, you debit an asset. And then what you need to do is you need make a credit entry of 500 in the asset accounts receivable. So you collected on accounts receivable. Previously it was listed as accounts receivable. Now you're going to list na bayad na. So there's no more accounts receivable from this customer. So accounts receivable is an asset account, and you're going to decrease the asset account by 500. So you're going to credit accounts receivable by 500. Okay, so that's all it is. Once again, you can repeat this. I won't go over this in more detail, but you can repeat watching this and dive into mga journal entries and double entry accounting. But yeah, this is more optional. This is more in-depth na. Okay. So okay. Lastly, we're gonna talk about T accounts. We have mga workflows pa. I don't think we have time for that. Pero T account. So when we're looking at double entry accounting, diba, we had debits and credits, and that's usually listed in the T account. It's just a graphical representation. So earlier, if for example, if we have a T account of all the assets, so cash, all the debits are on the left, all the credits are on the right. That's how you deal with T account, and you can make T accounts for each kind of account. So for your cash, if you're going to increase your cash, you list on the T side. On the T side, you're going to list increases on the left side and decreases on the right side. So if you have your T account for your cash here, all your increases are on the left, all your decreases are on the right. That's it. So all your increases are debits, all your decreases are credits. Right. So that's how T accounts work. Okay. They're also called ledger accounts. Okay. So debits are on the left, credits are on the right. Okay. So that's all you have to remember with T accounts. Okay. Once again, these are the more technical stuff, so we're not diving really into too much detail. Now, if we go into QuickBooks, let's briefly go over QuickBooks over here and look at transaction workflows in QuickBooks. So there's a customer, when we talk about customer-focused transaction workflows, hindi ako nag-accounting, pero willing to learn. Inside QuickBooks, when you receive payments, what you do is you create invoices. Okay, when you create invoices in QuickBooks, it records a sale, and it also records accounts receivable. It records na you made a sale and somebody's gonna pay you. So invoices, meaning hindi bayad agad. Okay, utang, meaning people will owe you money. Okay, when you have an invoice. So sale and you have accounts receivable, and then that's the first transaction you create. Okay, so let's say somebody will buy peanuts from you. You're a supplier, but they won't pay you right now. They'll pay you 30 days from now. So you create an invoice. Auto invoice. Payable 30 days from now. So the sale is recorded on the invoice. 30 days later, your customer goes and pays you. or pays the business. Then you record the payment. So you receive payments, you increase cash, you decrease accounts receivable over here. And then the next step in this workflow is recording deposits. So step by step lang. Okay, you make a sale, na utang. Okay, create invoices. You receive the payment, so receive cash, decrease utang, and then you record deposits. So the customer is going to go to the bank, make that deposit. They're going to decrease their cash on hand and increase their cash in bank of that certain account. Okay, so this is one workflow, one customer focused workflow. Another workflow is when you step one. So look here, step one, and then step two. Step one, you create sales receipts and immediately record it as a deposit. Okay, so earlier may utang, diba? Payable in 30 days. Workflow number two is if cash yung transaction. You create a sales receipt. You don't create an invoice. Invoice is when they're gonna pay you in the future. May receivable ka. You create a sales receipt if you're doing a cash transaction. So cash and then sales, debit cash and then credit sales. So you create a sales receipt. You click here in QuickBooks, sales receipt, and then once the customer makes a deposit, you just record deposits. So yeah. Third workflow here. Third way that you do transactions when dealing with customers in QuickBooks is with estimates. And you can also use what we call progress invoicing. So you create an estimate. So usually sa mga, let's say mga construction projects, you create an estimate. Okay? Hindi ba finalized? The estimate doesn't mean there's sales yet because estimate lang, diba? Estimate. But when the customer, so you create an estimate, you're going to do renovations sa bahay ni customer. You create an estimate, and then the customer looks at the estimate. Once they accept the estimate, you create an invoice and say, okay, we're going to start working. You pay this in 30 days. And 30 days later, you receive payments and then record deposits. You can also do what we call progress invoicing na yung estimate, let's say for 1 million, yung first invoice is 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. That's also known as progress invoicing. So these are just the different transactions in QuickBooks and how it works. Estimates are the same as quotations. Yeah. So here, same as quotations. Yes, exactly. In QuickBooks, you don't have to really understand yung T account, yung double entry accounting. It helps. But if you're dealing with QuickBooks, all you have to do is do these things. Create an invoice, receive payments, record deposits. Or create sales receipt, record deposits. Or create an estimate or quotation, create invoices, receive payments, and record deposits. It's really simple. So yeah, progress invoicing, progress billing, same thing. You don't really have to worry about all the technical stuff, all the mga nosebleed na stuff. Usually when you're doing bookkeeping, you don't have to worry about that. It helps if you know it. But when you're dealing like with QuickBooks, all you have to do is enter the amounts and into these different transactions. And it's very simple na. Okay? That's what's great about the mga software like QuickBooks. You don't need to know the technical stuff. You can just do it in the software. Workflow flow is a bit longer, and 5 and 6. We won't discuss that. But these are just more steps in how you can deal with customer workflows. Yung vendor focus naman is when we do like account payable. Earlier is accounts receivable, now is accounts payable. Workflow 1 is that, okay, you have a purchase order. Usually, for example, if you're doing a construction project, you create a purchase order, or yeah, you have a construction project, you create a purchase order, you send it to your supplier, they send you inventory. So you create a purchase order, okay, there. And then they send you inventory, you receive the inventory. Step 3 is you enter bills against inventory. So you check the inventory. Usually you check, okay, andito naman lahat, they sent you the stuff, they shipped it to you, you check it, and then you enter bills, you record na, okay, we have an accounts payable, I received the inventory, now we have accounts payable. Step 4 is you pay your bills. So that's when you shell out cash or write a check. Okay. Another workflow is when you don't use the purchase order, when you don't use inventory, diretso na. Enter bills, pay bills. So you receive a bill from PLDT, for example. Okay, let's record it. And then usually mga 15 days yung due date, diba? So 15 days later or 20 days later, you pay the bill. Very simple. really simple. When you're dealing with QuickBooks, you see the flows, may arrows pa, ano yung step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Ito, step 1, step 2. There are arrows pointing from connecting the steps, and it shows you na beforehand like what you need to do next. So it makes it really simple for you, and you don't need to know the technical stuff. Do we need to have our own QBO? It helps if you have your own, but I'll show you something later. Bookkeeping and accounting is like reading a book. You should know details of the starting point till the end. Okay? Mostly input. Sorry, may signal ko. Okay, so there. I know there were some nosebleed parts, but I gave you an overview, at least in basics of bookkeeping, and you have an idea of what bookkeeping really is. Now, we talked about what bookkeeping is, bookkeeping versus accounting, reports in bookkeeping, the balance sheet, the income statement, the cash flow, double entry, accounting, T accounts, and I showed you a couple of different transaction workflows in QuickBooks. Okay. Questions. What other questions do you guys have? We answered a number of people's questions already, pero baka you guys have additional questions. And if you did you guys find this webinar helpful? I know it was some technical at some points, baka nosebleed at some points, pero do you have, did you guys learn something tonight? Did you get a new skill? Did you find this helpful? Pareha ba yung QBO at Sage? They're different softwares. They're both accounting software made by different companies. Sir, QuickBooks po ba ay for bookkeeping lang or pwede din sila gumawa ng invoice? They can make invoices, like what I showed you earlier here. For accounting, for bookkeeping, yes, but they can create invoices, they can send invoices, they can even print checks from QuickBooks. Parang all-in-one na siya. Doon na. Nosebleeds, sabi ni Alice. Oh, helpful. Good to hear. If you found it helpful, I'd appreciate it if you left a review on our Facebook page. Just hit that review button and leave us an honest review. Even if you found it nosebleed, let me know that. Leave us a review for this free webinar. Walang internship on bookkeeping. Medyo sensitive yung numbers, so we can't have internships for bookkeeping. If may mali sa bookkeeping, it's a big problem. Compared sa ibang internships natin na okay lang makamali ng konti. But bookkeeping, we can't. Alright, so next Saturday, we're gonna see you next Saturday. Now, I hope you guys are excited for your gift. Are you ready enough for your gift? Okay. But before that, let's answer this question. Can you do bookkeeping? Kaya nyo ba? Yes, we got a bit technical and may na nosebleed. Na-recall yung mga college days na masyadong nosebleed. But most people, they can do bookkeeping. You just have to kind of understand the system, like what we talked about earlier, and kind of understanding the system. And yes, this was more of an introduction for you. Actually, it's very quick, 1 hour, and we talked about a lot of things. But when you study this in detail, of course, you take more time. And in our paid course, we have a course on this. It's 2,990 pesos. We go into more detail, of course, and more examples. This was parang crash course lang. Okay. You can do bookkeeping, given the right technical know-how. You have to have attention to detail lang. Okay, bookkeeping can be simple as categorizing things properly. It's about knowing what category different transactions are. And if you enroll also in our accelerated course, kasama na yung bookkeeping. Free na siya if you enroll in VA Bootcamp Accelerated. Sige. Alright, we have our free courses. Like I mentioned, we have a free bookkeeping course, and we have a lot of other free courses. Alright, we have free webinars, we have our free VA course, and we have free courses on on web design, on bookkeeping, on writing, on email marketing. We just released one on lead generation. But aside from our free course, we also have our paid course, our VA Bootcamp paid course. We have different packages for it, and we see a lot of results. Diba? You guys said you learned a lot naman from this free webinar, and we have from our paid courses, you'll get more results because you have guidance. Dito, I'll just give you all this information. Ito na. In the bootcamp, if you enroll, you do have guidance. You do have programs to help you succeed. For example, here's Teresa Cleofe. She was a newbie and now she has a client. Okay, she just started. Wala siyang experience in working online, pero now she has a client. She applied her learnings from the bootcamp. She was also mentored. We had the Adopt a Newbie program before. She became certified in QuickBooks. She got the QuickBooks Online certification. She took the exam, and now she has a client. And we have um, her testimonial over here. She's very happy. Naka-hotspot lang siya. Smart Giga 99. Pero kasi down yung Converge. I think for 1 month naging down yung Converge, diba? So she was just using Smart Giga 99 when she got her client. We have another one over here by Beth Terrado. She got her first client during yung what we call our guided hustle challenge. Ito yung guided program. If you enroll in the bootcamp and you finish the lessons, guided program for you to get a client. Because she did not give up. She applied what she learned in the VA bootcamp and the guided hustle challenge. She was a moderator. She was an intern for us in August, and then she joined the hustle challenge. Which is part yung hustle challenge. This is a free parang coaching program for those that enroll in the VA bootcamp accelerated and complete packages. Okay, so if you enroll in those paid programs, you get the guided hustle challenge included there. She joined the guided hustle challenge in September, and then she got her client in October. So from 1 month from joining the hustle challenge, she got the client na. So very excited about that. Very happy that she's now one of the newbies na walang experience online pero naka-client. They're getting paid na to work online. So if you want to be like Beth, you have to enroll in the course in the VA bootcamp and finish it. And then from when you finish the course, you have options. You can go into internships. You can go into the hustle challenge. So you have a lot of options to really help you succeed. And that's what we provide in the VA bootcamp. So we have our guided hustle challenge. This is one of the meetings from the guided hustle challenge na ito yung parang group coaching and meetings na where they interact. May mga classmates ka like what they have over here. We have our coaches here. Bong and Mitch are coaches, and Akimi is also here. A couple of our coaches, and they every month except December because we have of course our vacation in December. Every month there is a guided hustle challenge that people can join and be a part of, and this is where you get the coaching and guidance to really help you succeed. If you get the bookkeeping course only, you get the lessons, but you don't get the hustle challenge. It's only in the VA Bootcamp Accelerated and Complete. If you get the Accelerated, Rochelle, you get the bookkeeping course naman for free. It's part of it na. Yung guidance, yung next schedule, Marissa, I think the November batch is finishing next week. I'm not sure. Pero January yung next batch. Kasi December, walang batch sa December. Yung paid courses, makano, there are different pricing packages you can get, how to enroll, and then yun may link. Thank you, Rome, for giving the link over there. You can enroll over in that link. We have packages. Yung lowest installment natin is 1,990. You can just start with that muna. Or yung accelerated natin is 7,990 one-time payment. Okay, so check out the different packages. There are different options for you, installment or one-time payments. Yeah. So in the VA Bootcamp, you can get the skills. You have lessons, you have your community, you have coaches to help you out. You get your question answered, and a lot more. Okay, so if you found this webinar helpful, you'll get a lot of value from the VA Bootcamp. Because these are just the lessons. We're just teaching you the skills, and crash course pa nga. It's just basic overview. But if you want to get into more detail, and if you want the guidance, you'd enroll in the VA Bootcamp. Okay, and let me share with you, the certificate. How do you get the certificate? I know a lot of you guys are excited to get this certificate, and you can include this on your profiles and show to clients now, yes, you know the basics of bookkeeping. You've attended the workshop. So here are the action items for you to get your certificate. We don't just give this out to everybody who attended, pero you have to prove that you actually learned how to do it by submitting your action items. Okay, so your action items over here, step 1, log into QuickBooks Test Drive. So they have parang demo version of QuickBooks Online. Go over to Test Drive, take screenshots of the following. You just need to pull up a profit and loss and balance sheet, take screenshots of those, create a sales receipt transaction, just enter any amount, take a screenshot of that, and then post the screenshots in our assignment thread. Not this link, pero we have an assignment thread, and comment with the hashtags. I'll create the assignment thread right now. The deadline for submission is November 27, so this coming Friday, and then we'll start sending the certificates on the week of November 30. Okay, so all you have to do is go to the QuickBooks demo test drive account and then take screenshots of the profit and loss balance sheet and a sales receipt transaction. Very simple. We won't ask you to do mga double entry bookkeeping or mga T accounts or something like that. We want to keep it simple for you. But this shows na, and I want you of course to practice inside QuickBooks din para may experience nyo. Okay, wait, let me just, I'm just going to create the thread for the assignments here so you can post them even starting right now. Oh, let me just kunin ko lang yung text so I can copy paste it. Bookkeeping assignment thread. Okay. Okay, so I created the thread right now so that you can go ahead and post it in the assignment thread so that you can get your certificate. Okay, yung action items natin going into QuickBooks. Sige,